This podcast contains an English accent that most of our Irish listeners will find offensive. Also, there may be some colourful language that you're going to find less offensive. Now, over to Ryan and Leon. Enjoy the podcast.
I think most of my poems start as little daydreams, really. An idea leads to another idea, leads to another idea, and really, before I know what I'm doing, I'm some way into the poem. And I sort of snap out of the daydream and think, actually, that's the stuff that poems are made of. And it's at that point that I'll sit down and start writing it out as language.
Poems as daydreams.
Daydreams are important. I actually was daydreaming on my way here.
Tell me more.
Thinking of poems.
Good. Yeah. Okay.
I like to walk around the city without any headphones on. I think when people to walk with their... And the amount of people I nearly bumped into would literally bet into their phones on a packed street. But what I do is when I'm walking through town, because there's so many things going on, I just raw dog it as I'm walking and I just take it all in. And you see great inspiration for that. Just walking. Yeah. Like from the bus stop to here, I was like, I have an idea for the poem that I haven't written yet, so I'm not going to mention it. I'll really mention it.
And like what that was Simon Armitage, the former poet laureate. I don't think he might be the current poet laureate of the UK. Maybe he's not anymore. 10 years is the title you get anyway.
I don't think I'm allowed now that information.
Yeah, sorry. Jeez.
Off the top of my head.
And he was saying, like, in the daydream, you end up in the middle of the poem, which I think is really interesting. Because it's almost like you've thought of it and you've already kind of written it without even knowing, and then you're like, oh shit, no, I need to get my phone out now. I need to jot down the line that you dreamt that's the key driver of the poem. Yeah,
I think it's like you start with the meat of the dinner, and then you have to work your way out, kind of.
It's a good analogy. That is how it works, isn't it?
Yeah, the tastiest part, and you're like, sorry, the falafel for any of the vegetarians there, but the nut loaf. The nut loaf.
Nut roast.
You start with the nut roast, and you work your way out to the
smeggy cheese thing. The nasty vegan cheese.
Dairy free.
The sock cheese. Smegma. Horrible stuff. Ever tasted vegan cheese? Nasty.
And they're looking at you going, tastes exactly the same, doesn't it? Doesn't it?
Yeah.
You're like, no,
it fucking doesn't. But it happened today. I was on the bus. I've actually started to listen to the calm meditations outside. Oh. So like I was sitting on the bus listening to the Daily Calm today, and sitting on the bus, and that happened. I was like, I'm listening to this meditation. That's interesting. I wonder what people think if they knew I was doing this. It's a bit weird. I've got a book in my bag. Maybe I should read that. And then you're already in the story of a poem. And the book that I had was like a self-help book by Jay Shetty, who wrote How to Live Like a Monk or To Be a Monk or something like that. That's the book I've been reading anyway. And then I was like, geez, what would people think if I got that book out? And then that's the poem. You're like, what would? And then you're in it, and then you have to add words.
You're worrying about bettering yourself.
Yeah, it's like that's the story of how a poem's created. It's like nothing to something. It's like, oh, that's interesting. That's the sort of thing that poems are made of, like Simon Armitage was saying. And then you have to write it.
Yeah.
I mean, that in a nutshell is how it all works, doesn't it?
There's a great to flex my knowledge of Latin, which is very limited. It's called in medias res, and in medias res means in the middle of things.
Oh,
I don't know why my brain soaks up this shite, but in the middle of things, and I think that's what happens when you're in. Because if you're like starting at the start of a story, it's kind of fucking boring. Where the middle of it, it's like that's why the best big films, they'll drop you into the middle of what's going on, and then they'll work their way back. Because you're like, boom, what the fuck was that? And then you want to know what that is. You want to know what it is. So they've shown you one tit, and they're like one tit of the film. They're like, you want that?
So you think your brain is showing you one tit when you think of a poem? So I need the other tit.
You need to see, they're like, we'll show you one tit of the film or the poem, and then you have to work your way back to the other tit of the poem. You know what I mean? Work your way there.
We have always said this is an intellectual podcast.
We're academics. Do you ever think Latin and one tit would be in the same fucking sentence?
This is what we're here for.
It's 26 degrees, baby. We're losing our minds.
I've got a poem from Simon Armitage we're going to share later on, and I think that the accidental theme of this pod is going to be masculinity. Jeez,
Ooh.
the buzz topic.
No better
on
way
the streets
than two men explaining it.
Yeah, let's
mansplain it.
I don't know what it is, but we're going to use poetry to help us navigate through the toxic waters, if you will, of masculinity. Before we do that, we're very excitable today because in a couple of days' time we're going to visit Liverpool. And that's because of the wonderful work of Hayley Gordon, who's a poet based there, who's also an event organiser who organises the Giz A Word events that are hosted every Saturday out of Hemingway's bar in Liverpool city centre. And I thought it'd be good to hear from her. So we've got a lovely poem from Hayley called Home, and the loveliest part of this poem is there's bird song in the background.
Like the car map.
Oh yeah, this is like the car map. So sit back and enjoy Hayley Gordon with Home.
They say home is where the heart is, yet the heart can take you to where the art is, or where a character dances on a page, a lyric, note, melody, or performing on a stage. My home consists of treasures like finger smudges on handles, melted wax that has dripped from candles, glitter mixed in with fairy dust, slime, socks, and sometimes pizza crust, dinner stains with laughing pains, footballs, bikes, and the Christmas choo-choo trains, springs of lavender blossom around each trampoline bounce. Before we know it, summer has been announced. The sun shines all day long on my house. We have picnics in our paradise, inviting the butterflies, spiders, and even the woodlice. The windows blast an eclectic genre. Each day it seems to vary. One day dance, then metal, until you hear hymns sang to the Holy Mary. And I'll be honest, I'm scared to wake the youngest resident. She's sometimes a little scary, but give her a sweetie and she turns into a happy little fairy. Home also smells like that grilled crispy bacon on a Saturday morning, or the sweetness of Sunday pancakes drenched in syrup, followed by a roast with lashings of gravy that tastes so exquisite. Versace red jeans, sunflowers and cerruti, apples, oranges, mangoes, everything's fruity. The birds are whistling as they hide in the bush. I pull the red hairs out from my brush, mirror performances by all for a self-motivated push. Speaking, singing, dancing, we don't like to be told to hush. Home is everything and so much more. I'm grateful to have the protection from a locked door, for my warmth and comfort from a carpeted floor. Good neighbours on each side of each wall. My home is a city where the people stand tall, fighting for justice to tell the truth to all. Nobody is too big or too small. Home is sometimes the person on the other end of that call. The beach is also my home, a place where my mind tends to roam, collecting sticks, shells, pebbles and stones. A place where I find comfort as I sit alone. The waves crash with each ink splash, turning the sands as I turn new pages. Home is where our stories last throughout the ages.
That was Home by Hayley Gordon.
What a beautiful way of kicking off the show this week.
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
If Hayley Gordon had a job as a voiceover artist, I'd buy whatever the fuck she was selling.
Yeah.
And apples and roasts and gravy. I was like, yeah, I could see that on an M&S ad. You know, just fucking flogging gravy and delicious things.
Just listing great stuff.
I felt calm listening to that.
Yeah, I did as well, yeah. The birds helped us on the back.
Amazing poem.
And even like, it's a great balance because you've got like the beautiful things that she likes and enjoys, but then you've got like some of the social stuff going on, like the city being a great leveller. Dublin's a bit like that, I think. No one's too big or too small.
Yeah.
It's like I've always felt like the great leveler in the world is O'Donoghue's pub on Bagot Street, because in that beer garden, it doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
It's a great leveler. I think Dublin is a great leveler. That's why there's such, notions is probably a word.
Oh, notions
doesn't exist in most places, but it exists here.
Notions is a very big thing.
Yeah.
Notions 11.
Yeah.
No, it's a big thing. Like, and you wouldn't want to be caught having notions in Ireland.
No. Though we have.
It's
we have.
Oh, there's plenty of notions. Of course there is.
We've been caught plenty.
None on record, all right?
No. We're in too many rooms with chandeliers. That's just like, you know what I mean? Fuck's sake.
Drinking pints of Guinness for $5.50 though.
Yeah, that was great, man. At the Luna launch last week?
Last week, yeah.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. Lovely old little event it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But back to Hayley's poem, it was amazing. Yeah, I think you're right. It's what it touches on. It doesn't have to. It doesn't put it in your face.
And the neighbours thing as well.
Safety of the locked door.
Doesn't put it in your face. It's like that's all of this is important. Mangoes and non-chavvy neighbours.
Yeah, exactly.
It's equally as important.
But it's like
peace in it. It's about peace in it.
Yeah, but I think it's like I've lived in a couple of different countries, and obviously you've lived in come to Ireland for 10 years, so you
yeah.
But I've noticed from moving from different countries that once you have a base, everything else will work out. So whenever you first get to a new destination and you're in a hostel or you're in like an Airbnb, and it doesn't really like the job, obviously everyone wants to have a job and security, but once you have somewhere to sleep and put your stuff, no matter where it is, that's a big thing, and I've noticed that. So it's like once you have a dwelling place, it does
some kind of thing, like you said, some kind of not just a routine, but like a system in place that helps you create the feeling of a home. At least
it's just a base. It's a place that you can just kind of, okay, no matter what's going on out there, I can just rest and I can just be still for like a moment.
Yeah.
And I've just noticed from flitting from places to places, once you have like a bed or like an armchair to fucking sit in,
or a bedside table that you put whatever book it is you're reading on, or whatever. Exactly. It's mad that you think about the places that you've lived. Like I've moved about, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Different houses and stuff, and I remember being in like house shares where the kitchen area is not somewhere you spend time. You'd be nervous to cook, or like the living space is a dead dwelling that no one ever goes in, so you're living in your bedroom.
Yeah.
And like as you get older, obviously the space of which you're comfortable with gets bigger, because that's how that works. You get older and you have a bit more space. But I just think about like even when I would like living in London in my early 20s and running home and knowing that like I'm probably ducking people and going into my bedroom, that even there was a system in place. Yeah. Something. Do you know what I mean? Like whether it was a fridge that was in my room that made me feel like more at home. Do you know what I mean? We've all got to have a thing.
Yeah.
To make ourselves feel more at peace with where we are.
Well, I think London would be a prime example, I imagine, because it's so busy that you have some place that's just like a bit of stillness. In like such a chaotic city, there's so many people there, that I imagine in London or out of anywhere else, probably that'd be like London, New York, all these really, really busy places. No matter how big or how small it is, once you have that base, everything else will work out. There's always going to be a fucking job, especially in like London, And even like when I was in Vancouver, like you go over, and I was living in a hostel that's closed down since, the Canby it's called, but I was there for like a week. Then I was sleeping on my mate's couch for 2 weeks. Then I got a room in a basement, and I was like, I don't give right by the generator or the boiler. And I was like, I don't fucking care. Like the boiler, you get used to the sound. It feels like you're sleeping in a ship. It's grand. But I had
what you're used to. It's mad what you can acclimatise to.
Yeah, like I remember the first night I had to turn it off, and then all the girls, because there was 9 of us in the house, they were all giving out. There was no water for the showers the next morning. But I was like, I can't fucking sleep. And then the next day, I think I fell asleep with it on or something. I just forgot about it. But then after a while, I couldn't sleep without it. I'd be literally in bed waiting in silence, and then it'd kick in and I go, and I'd fall back asleep. Mad.
It's mad, yeah. The rites of passages that everybody has to go through.
Yeah.
And there are people listening to this podcast, they probably seeing themselves in what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Of like what we used to have to do. So, it's you learn.
Definitely.
You definitely learn.
You need to get out and experience life. And I feel some people, like, a lot of my mates didn't move out or stayed around the home area to save for their own house, and like that's great. You know, you moved from like, you know, you have a house now in your early 30s. That's amazing, such an achievement. But the part of me kind of goes, yeah, but you never really went out.
Yeah, you didn't do the
You never really went out and experienced what was out there. But then some people, I imagine, are just like happy to just, you know, go to school, go to work, save up, get a house, live their life. People are just happy kind of cruising. That's grand, you know. And I think younger me would have been like, that's fucking ridiculous. What are you doing? Because I'm not like that. But then as you get older, you realise
you're a bit more patient with what people are doing.
Not everyone's like you.
Not everyone's like you.
Not everyone knows Latin.
No. But there might be certain characteristics that are common with people that did what you're saying, like that did get the gaff in their late 20s and have the family. I do think one of them is like being very particular about things in general, or what you like, or the way your house is set up, or the friends that you have. I think me and you and a lot of people probably listen to this, comfortable to sit in most rooms. Do you know what I mean? And talk to most people, because you've been forced to not to be sophisticated, but like to socialise and to be able to go with the peaks and troughs of conversation with lots of different types of people, and be not that arsed about certain things. Yeah, you just end up having to you kind of zoom in. Where if you ever like see people who maybe, I don't know, like haven't had that, and they're a bit prickly, or kind of like, oh, that doesn't go there. It's just like, oh, you know what I mean? Or quite argumentative in conversations. And you're like, just relax. Like, it's all good. It's all good.
Like I'd say for about 7 years, I lived out of 3 boxes. 3 big boxes. And whatever I couldn't fit in them boxes, I didn't bring with me, because I moved so much that I was like, I can't bring it with me. For a while, I was living out of a rucksack when I was travelling and stuff like that, because I just used to stick everything into a rucksack, big haversack, and if I couldn't fit it in that, I couldn't bring it with me, because I had to carry it literally on my back. But then when I kind of settled the 3 boxes, and that were my things, it's like, I can fit everything in those 3 boxes.
That's me.
Yeah.
Grand.
And then I was grand. But then when I finally came back from Canada after all that, and that was when I kind of knew it was coming to an end, I got rid of my boxes. I moved in with my missus and I got rid of my boxes. Now I have 2 properties now. Fucking multiple wardrobes. Too many things. No, I don't. But like, you know, it's just... But then even like now being in the caravan's such a limited space, you realise you don't fucking need Anne. You know, you bring your summer clothes and you have them there, you have a couple of pairs of things, but you don't need half the shit that you have.
Stock part of the crap, yeah.
You know, you need a good heater when you're in a caravan, because it gets fucking cold. But other than that, you don't really need much. And that kind of, it's a nice little reminder, you know. Some people, I think you're right when you say people live that kind of life where their things kind of dictate their... There are people out there, so many people out there that are like that. It's like, these things they're mine. Yeah. My precious.
And I guess we'll share some poems later on, and like, you know, I'm living in the grey, and maybe you're a bit living in the grey as well. Like, you're not able probably to, you know, live like a bloody nomad. You know what I mean? But also you're not as particular about like the like you might like the precious items of which you need to show. So like, you know, we're living in the grey. It's not all bloody black and white.
Well, we're settling now though. You've got your house. I was planting fucking apple trees the other day, planting a few.
Life changes, doesn't it?
Do you know what I mean? I'm getting particular about my garden now. I am, you know, paying attention to it. You know,
Mrs. last weekend was like, listen, we'll get steaming today. I was like, yeah, buzzing. Let's get steaming. Sounds fucking class. You're a steamer for the wall.
You're a steamer now, eh?
Wallpaper steamer. For fuck's sake, stripping the wallpaper. Great. Things change.
You're like, fucking this thing is so efficient. Yeah, I could get by that. I love that.
That's good to feel productive.
I love a good utensil when something works. You know, I got me Mrs. a Hoover for Christmas once. Now, I had multiple conversations with multiple women beforehand, and I was like, should I be right getting an appliance? And majority of them said, don't fucking do it. It's a terrible idea. Don't get her a Hoover for Christmas. So then I eventually told her, I was like, I was going to get you this very expensive Hoover. And she was like, oh, why didn't you? I was like, what do you mean? She's like, oh, I'm gutted now. She's like, I really wanted that Hoover. I never would have bought it for myself. So then I went and bought it, and it's the best fucking Hoover ever.
Well, actually, there's a connection between what you've just said and the first poem we're going to share, right? So, men and utensils. Oh, yeah. Going way back to the start. There's a poem that I wanted to share from Simon Armitage, and we were at school with this one. And the way we are taught, not even taught, but the way we did communicate with our female peers. This poem from Simon Armitage is called I Am Very Bothered. I am very bothered when I think of the bad things I have done in my life. Not least that time in the chemistry lab when I held a pair of scissors by the blades and played the handles in the naked lilac flame of the Bunsen burner, then called your name and handed them over. Oh, the unrivalled stench of branded skin as you slipped your thumb and middle finger in, then couldn't shake off the 2 burning rings, marked, the doctor said, for eternity. Don't believe me, please, if I say that was just my butter-fingered way at 13 of asking you if you would marry me.
That was I Am Very Bothered by Simon Armitage.
Fuck's sake. Kids, me, you.
Boys are little bollockses.
Lads.
Bollockses.
Oh my God.
Why can't we just fucking tell people our feelings? Rather than making a big hullabaloo. Mental. Like, secondary school for me showed how creative lads can be with making weapons out of nothing. Out of nothing.
Yeah.
There was a lad in my school, and you know them bendy rulers, the ones you could fold. They were like rolled up ones. They were like, it was like a 30 centimetre ruler,
Yeah.
right? But it was soft plastic that you could actually roll it up, right?
Oh.
So it's like you could roll it up. It was literally like a floppy ruler.
Yeah, okay,
right?
yeah.
And they stuck thumbtacks in the end of it,
Oh my God.
and they went around fucking hitting people with it.
They'd do well in prison, so wouldn't they?
It's like, what the fuck is that?
What
like,
is going on there?
and like, I remember being like brought. So we went to Mountjoy when we were in 4th year, so we were 16, and they brought us on a trip to Mountjoy, which is a prison, by the way, in the middle of Dublin. And they brought us to the solitary confinement part, and they're like, here's all the weapons people make. And I was like, saw that in school. Saw that in school.
Oh my God.
Like, it's fucking mental, do you know?
Sake.
Why are they doing this?
And maybe sometimes those weapons would be used by men to propose to women
In a very fucked up way.
as kids. Do you think that attitude of pretending you hate someone as a way of romantically luring someone in, I don't remember that ever being a thing in my life, but I saw it,
Yeah.
for sure. I think I just, because like I was surrounded by, I had a sister, which I think changes a lot. If you've got a
it does,
sister, I
yeah.
think that just changes things. And I think I always ended up like being surrounded by mates that were girls anyway at school, and probably even now. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think I've always kind of accidentally gravitated towards replacing my own mother with my friendship group. Do you know what I mean? It's just weird how that happens. But no, but I don't remember doing it when I was a kid. But I saw it, like, you know,
Yeah.
in some certain things don't come from nothing.
Yeah, true.
I'm sure Simon's poem just, like, I'm sure there's fucking. Thing is, we need to hear from the women, don't we? The girls know more than we do. We don't fucking know any. That's the thing we need to realise about, like, all these like anecdotes that we hear about. Like, we don't see them because boys hide the way they are to girls from us.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
True.
It's like,
yeah.
why would they share it? It's like their own isolated experience that they only have with that one girl, which is why we don't. I think that's why it's hard to talk about the way men are or women are, because, like,
Well, we don't know.
it's all isolated experiences. Like, I don't fucking know. Boys hide things.
Yeah. Here's an interesting fact about the brain. So the frontal cortex, the frontal lobe that resists, it's risk assessment. That's that part of the danger, basically. So for girls, it can mature, that part of the brain fully develops when they're around 18. Okay. For lads, it's 23. Risk assessment. And that's why young lads are fucking thick, because they can't assess. They're so immature in the brain, literally from a biological perspective, of analysing risk. He probably thought, I'm going to fucking get that thing and stick it. I should probably get a good laugh out of that. Nothing bad's going to happen of branding someone with a fucking pair of scissors. Like, I'm not saying that that's an excuse, but that could probably, it does kind of make sense why lads are so stupid, that they're like, but from a hunter-gatherer perspective, the reason why is because when you're obviously hunting, the young lads who are more able-bodied would take more risks. And also, as we grow up and as society develops, they'd send the young lads off to war because they can't analyse risks. They're not going to go, you're 18 when you go to war. So that they're not, oh, if I go off and fight in the trenches, I'm not going to die, I'll be grand.
Fuck yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
They're still little bollockses. I'm not saying that that's an excuse, but I'm just saying from a biological perspective, it's interesting to think of that. Their brains are still literally growing till they're 23, till they're nearly mid-20s.
Did you feel at school there was pressure from your male peers to, I don't know, I remember very specifically a time being at school, I was probably about 14, 15 years old, where some of the I'll call them bigger lads, whatever, like the harder lads, let's say, harder lads, were pushing me to start a fight with another lad. And it was in the changing room. And it all started kicking off in the changing room. It was like, Duggins, go on, you've got to hit him now. Go and get him. And I was like, I'm not fucking hitting him. I can't fucking hit him. I was like, you got to fucking hit him now. I was like, I'm not going to fucking hit anyone. Like, relax.
Yeah.
And it was, I still remember it was one of the most intense, because you're in a cloakroom, there's no teachers around, and you're in a circle, and you're there, and you're clenching your fist, but you don't want to. And then the guy that wants, he's like, he doesn't want you to do it either. You're like, what? Yeah. So I think there's, we don't talk a lot enough really probably about the environment that boys are in, which is not just competitive, but it's bullying. It's pack mentality. Yeah. There's probably that about like attaining girls as well, like getting on with like pulling girls as a young boy, and like going, oh, if you know you got no game, mate, you're shite, or you're ugly, or you know what I mean. You can't do it, and then it's all that like, I don't know, it's like horrible, toxic, competitive nature of like fighting or pulling. It's none of this is good, and it still happens. I'd say. I think it's everywhere. I
think as a teenager, I was always wanting like you know, attention, not in the sense of like look at me, but it's like to be liked, right? And I think every teenager is like, and adults as well, but struggling to get like intent, you know, like showing them like, oh, look how great I am, do you know, look at me as a person, and showing off and getting in trouble with teachers, and people have been like, what the fuck are you doing, and blah, you know, and girls have been like, you know, rejecting you and stuff like that. But as you get older and you go, hang on a second, I'm just going to be myself, and I'm not going to try play a character to these people or these people. I'm just going to be myself. And then people start coming to you because they're like, oh, that person they're themselves, they're a genuine person, they're not trying to be anybody, there's no bullshit with them. And then you realise when you start focusing on just being yourself and not trying to be somebody else, people like it. They can smell bullshit on you, and they know if you're fronting and if you're trying to be somebody else and impress them and all of that. Just be yourself, and then people will come to you. And I was like, oh, if someone had told me that when I was fucking 14, probably would have been a lot easier.
If you just sound, you get laid and people are nice to you. Buzzing.
Just don't be a cunt.
Learn that early. Learn it early.
Don't be, like, be sound. Don't be an arsehole. Don't be an arsehole for the sake of trying to appear cool.
But I think, though, when you're young, and maybe not as young, maybe still people are listening to this and working it out, when you are in the balance of knowing what you probably should be like and pressured on the easy route, which is like what the pack mentality wants you to be, you might only be yourself in certain places, like in your own room, or with that one friend that you get on with, or with that one female that listens to you. You know what I mean? It's like that, and then like that becomes your real persona, where like I don't know, you whatever it is, you're reading something, or you're interested, or you're thinking, and then next day you're in the parks, you know, chugging Lamborghini down your neck and like bullying, you know what I mean? Like, because that's easier. Because that's what you're used to.
Everyone else is doing.
That's what everyone else is fucking doing. Setting fire to trees. You know what I mean? Trees, and then you go home and like, right, who am I now? And I guess the goal, and this is what we're talking about, masculinity. This is what masculinity is. It's a constant conflict of what is easy for you to do, because that's what all the other lads are doing, and who your soul is, maybe.
There's so you know, like traditional forms of masculinity, so like older lads in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and masculinity to them was a very, you do this, you go get a job, you provide for your family, and you don't fucking talk about your feelings, right?
And you don't need to either.
You don't need to. But there's a girl, this is the furthest point of the spectrum. There's a girl I know whose dad is like
Old school.
Hyper masculine, as in like to the point of he must be hiding fucking something. He's that masculine, right? And he said before he was going on holidays, and they were like, "You're going to the Canaries, as you know very well, very fucking warm place, very warm place in the summertime." And he was like, "I'm not wearing shorts, cause fucking like I'm not going to use any derogatory terms, but like it's for bundles of sticks, we'll call it, right? I'm not going there to look like that, one of them."
Oh, okay.
So we went and only brought jeans, like blue jeans and boots.
What are you doing?
To Lanzarote. This is a man from Ireland now, by the way, right? We can't do well.
Can see
with
the brown shoes maybe
over
as well.
10 degrees, we start to melt, right? And he goes to Lanzarote in the middle of the summer. It's mid-30s in a pair of jeans and boots. And what did he have to do? Because he wasn't fucking buying shorts. No, he wasn't.
Oh, wasn't buying.
He cut his jeans into shorts. So he was walking around in cut-offs.
God.
In cut-offs. He would have looked more masculine wearing a pair of shorts, to be honest, not a pair of cut-offs. But that's what I'm just saying. That's like the furthest end of the spectrum.
That is the end. That's the boss level.
It's just like
Fuck's
how
sake.
in like just wear a pair of shorts, man. There's nothing like soft about wearing a pair of
We
shorts.
joke about it, but that people act like that.
There's people
This
out
is
there
this
like
is
that.
what we're talking about. This is what masculinity
There's men
is.
out there like that are turbocharged and are terribly afraid to show any sort of gentleness in their life. They'll cut off their own jeans despite themselves.
Or gentleness, but and also like maybe a bit of artistic impression. And I think that leads us nicely to a second poem. Let's share.
Yeah.
We've got an email from Ursula Walshe, who's a new listener. Who actually Ursula was at the Dublin UR gig that you were hosting.
The Civic show.
Yeah, so that was
Tala.
her first entry into poetry, it seems. And then there's actually messaged us going, "Oh, I'd love to write something, but I don't know." I was like, "Oh, just write something. If you want to send something in, you can." Did so. And then we got this banger, all about what we're talking about, masculinity.
This is
amazing.
This is amazing.
That's the impact, baby.
Poetry for the soul. So this is The Lost Graffiti of Adolescent Masculinity by Ursula Walshe. Do you remember them? Drawn all over your estate. On walls, on shop shutters. You'd hear them all mutter. Their heads in the gutter. The dirty fucker. On the back of the Jack's door there'd be more. Even on your copies and your books. They didn't give two fucks. They draw big ones, small ones, and ones with hairy balls. The dicks that were fizzing the jizz. They got the most laughs of them all. Fair play to them, though, for their creativity. But where is it gone, this graffiti of adolescent masculinity? There may be no visible street illustration. Fear not, the dick pic is well and truly in circulation. There's even filters to give them added sophistication. The boys are now hunched over on their secret device, access to a world that's not so nice. Their young minds are curious. Of course they take a slice. They screenshot, they snap, they share. Images they should never have to bear. The boys are showing off, being funny just like before. It's just different. There's no dicks on the Jack's door. We like it now. That's not on our face. While the boys worry about their permanent trace. The silly, foolish mistakes we all make as a teen is now captured on a screen forever it can be seen. We need to keep it in trend. We need to keep it in fashion. That now, more than ever, our boys need our compassion.
That was Ursula Walshe with The Lost Graffiti of Adolescent Masculinity. It takes you on a journey, that, doesn't it?
It does.
And it ends up being quite profound, even through the language of hairy balls and jizzing in the air. There's some really valid fucking points that she's talking about. And she has boys.
Yeah.
Ursula, so you know, she knows more than we do. You know.
Back to the secondary school, back to the messing days. Here's a story for you. So, you know, you have a journal. I don't know if in England you have them. We'd have a school journal where you'd write down if you had any homework, you'd write into it. You'd have it's like a note kind of thing. Yeah,
same thing.
So we had one of them. But the lads would obviously, you'd rob each other's one or whatever it is. And there's a thing called bagging as well, where you get your whole bag, they turn it inside out. They take your books out, turn the whole bag inside out, put the books back in and zip it. There was lads that could do this in about 20. It was like Formula 1 F1 in the pit. Like, they could just flip a bag in about 20 seconds. They could rob a fella's bag off his back, right, and have it bagged, and as he sits down at the desk, they could have it bagged. It was like a fucking magic trick, right?
Yeah.
Or they'd steal your journal and they'd draw a big dick on it. And I was messing one time, one of the lads had bagged me, so I managed to grab his journal and I managed to draw a big dick on it. And then him being,
Yeah.
you know, you're like, we're all laughing, and then fucking he goes and someone beside him was like, look what's that on his thing. So he obviously goes, it was him that did it. So we both got in trouble then, because, you know, for all that stuff. So then we got sent to our year head. Now, year head, you know, if you're in first year, second year, third year, you have a year head person who oversees 90 students. They look after you. And I got called into, his name is Mr. Coyle, and he was a fucking legend, right? French teacher. And we got brought into the classroom, and he goes, right, lads, sit down there now. I'm going to ask you a very simple question. What's the worst word in the English language? And we're like, what? He's like, I'll give you a hint. It's got 4 letters. Worst word in the English language. Tell me, lads. Tell me now. And we were like, don't know, sir. He goes, I'll give you another hint. Starts with F. F. 4 words. 4 letters. What's the worst word in the English language? And we're sweating, and we're like, see, where the fuck's he going with this? And he goes, right, I'll tell you what it is. And he turns around and he starts writing on the chalk. It was back in chalkboards. Starts writing on the chalkboard, and he turns away and he points at it and he goes, fear. Fear is the worst word in the English language. You shouldn't be walking around here with fear, lads. Anyway, I've had enough of your time. See you later. Don't be doing that again. He just sent us off.
That was it. Oh, that is impressive.
Get the fuck out. And we're like, what?
And now it stays with you now.
That was in second year. I think it was 12 or 13 or something when it happened. Like, and he just, that was amazing.
Oh man,
that was amazing. And I had a great relationship
with you.
Because he's just like, these lads are just being lads. They're being fucking gobshites. I'm going to waste their time, keep them back after school, and then send them on their way. He's like, what else can he do? Like,
fuck's sake.
And he just had us, but we were sweating. Like, we were like, he's going to make us say fuck. He's going to make us say fuck in front of the whole. And he's like, fear, get out. I was like, that's brilliant.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Fuck's sake.
Great poem.
Yeah, great poem. Yeah, it's that whole showing off thing, like, you know, drawing the biggest dick on everyone is drawing on the papers and stuff. But there's a good point, which is like, you know, she talks about, you know, kids on their phones and, like, you know, instead of expressing that curiosity through, you know, markers on a toilet wall or you know, you ever do that? You ever like put someone's name and put their mobile number on their
back in the pubs and all? Yeah.
Call 4 blowjobs.
Yeah, call 4 sex.
Al.
Yeah.
That's not, again, masculinity. This is what it is. It's
not
fucking
great
bullshit. But, you know, it's kind of, you know what, as well, I think we need to talk about a little bit, which is, and I don't think we talk about this enough, is the excitement and enamor that I felt as a kid using the internet to connect with people. You remember when you were younger, it was MSN.
Yeah.
And then internet chat rooms were quite big in the early 2000s, I'd say, because I'm 36, so like I'd have been 13, 14 in the early 2000s. I remember, I mean, and it wasn't dick pics, and it wasn't fucking, because you couldn't take photographs, so how could it be?
Yeah.
But like it was using chat rooms, like, I don't remember what they were called, but like you'd create a name for yourself, like, I don't know, like Dreamy Leon 86 or 91, I guess it would be for you. What is that? 92. And then you'd go online and you'd have a list of all these people and you'd chat to them. You're like,
MSN.
Yeah. And but even like the level of beyond MSN, which is random people, you know, which is obviously where, you know, groomers would have been. Who's going to know when you were a kid? Yeah. But I remember the excitement, the hours I would have spent on those chat rooms as a kid, just connecting with people. So when we say, oh, how can kids be on their phone? How can they, as a young person, when you're becoming a teenager, it is exciting. Surely it's still exciting to speak to random people and strangers. And now you've got phones where you can take photographs of fucking anything you want. But it's not new to this generation. Is what I'm trying to say. It's not a generational thing.
No,
I remember it was big when I was younger.
I think but things are becoming more permanent now, where you could put up an Instagram post and that'll be there forever. even though you can hide it now, but someone takes a screenshot that exists forever. And it's like, if you make a mistake when you're 14, when you're 44, that can still exist. Whereas like the shit you did when you were 14, when I was 14, the dicks we drew on walls have probably been repainted, and the evidence has gone with it. Whereas now, that exists forever.
It's very true. Very true. Another part of masculinity, I think, is really quickly making judgment calls and like not living in the nuance. Maybe that's not even masculinity. That's just like modern culture. We're quite quick to snap judgments because it's like, I don't know if you feel this, but sometimes like I feel like my thoughts have a crowd, or like there's momentum. Like if you have a thought or an idea, if you pop it into the sky, how many people are going to get behind it? Because we're all used to likes and comments. So I don't think we're that open now to really express how we feel and how we think and what we have to say about certain things. So like I said earlier on, I was on the bus today. I had that Jay Shetty book in my bag. Yeah. And I started thinking about this poem about like, if I got that book out and someone had a particular thought about Jay Shetty, what would they think about me? Yeah. Where really they don't have a fucking clue why I'm picking that book up. It could be anything could have happened to me that day. And I feel like we're very quick to match off things in culture that are meant to be bad to people that are shit or people that are bad. Yeah. It's just nonsense. So I wrote this poem. And it's not about this fella, but he's in the title. The poem is called Do Not Judge the Man Reading Jordan Peterson on a Bus. Do not judge the man reading Jordan Peterson on a bus, or Jay Shetty, or Tony Robbins. Do not stare and imagine him in his room with a Scarface poster. Imagine him with a silent father hidden under a football duvet. Do not say his words in your head. Think of him crying after he started another break-up conversation, not knowing why. Hold from thinking down at this being his only book. It's probably bigger than that. A first day at school, a last roll of die. He isn't another man who let you down. He's a man reading to save his life.
That was Do Not Judge the Man Reading Jordan Peterson on a Bus by our very own Ryan Duggins.
Yeah, thanks, man. I think it's not about him. It doesn't even matter what someone is reading, or I think reading is the key thing. If you're reading to help yourself, judgment gets a pin in it. I think it's the wrong thing to do.
Yeah, like why would you? Like, I think it's good to read things, even if you don't have to agree with someone all the time to take something from it. It's like watching a movie or listen to music that, experiencing new things and making your own judgment on them. Don't judge someone for them being curious about something. Like a very, very popular book that's read in like people that is Mein Kampf, which was written by Adolf Hitler, right? But like people read that, like, and they're not Nazis. They just read it because they're like,
it's curiosity.
It's a curiosity. What did he fucking read? What did that mad fuck write? You know?
Yeah.
And like obviously you're not going to read it on a bus, but some people read it because they're like curious to what are you talking about back then? And it's not that he's right. Of course he's not right. He's a fucking monster. But people.
It's an interest of history. It's an interest of
history, exactly. And early people read books about Stalin. Stalin killed untold amounts of people of his own people. And people read loads of different things about different people because they're curious. And having a curiosity there's nothing wrong with having a curiosity.
No,
I think people are just too quick to make shallow judgments of others and go, what can I identify with that person? Jordan Peterson, problem.
I think in the current climate as well, we all are. I don't think we all want to get along, because that's obviously not true. But we all maybe have a filter running through what we really feel and think, which is, how many people are going to really appreciate what I've got to say here? And then you say, it's almost like we were talking back at school of like, trying to make your teacher laugh, or like, getting more mates. It's, you know what I mean? It's all carried on It's just manifested in different ways.
Yeah.
And I think that's good with poetry because it really makes you think, and especially if you're able to express yourself through poetry, I think that's that's the real mirror of how you really feel.
Like when you were saying when you were growing up, like although you're a creative person and you're a very gentle soul, you liked football growing up. I didn't. And I found in the world I grew up in, liking football and being involved in football was like a superpower.
I would never have spoken to you.
You probably wouldn't.
Weird.
You probably wouldn't.
It's weird, yeah.
And I still don't like football. And I still get that, there's Leon, I don't like football. I watch rugby. I watch fucking UFC. I watch boxing. I watch, watching triathlons that there during the Olympics. But I just can't watch football. It's too slow for me, right? But having, like, in school, that was everything. If you were good at football, you were considered cool.
I'd say it's even more than that, because I was on the football team as a kid, and it got you a ticket.
Yeah.
It got you free passes with the teachers because they thought you were quite sound because they would have watched the games and got you out of class early as well.
Exactly.
You elevates your profile and you become more popular. And popularity is apparently the thing that gets you above the waves.
Feels like pressure cookers. And then even the lads that wouldn't be athletic might have a very wide, extensive knowledge of Premier League, Champions League,
players.
League of Ireland. They'd know fucking everything about it. They're like a walking encyclopedia, and they'd like be on the same. Oh, but they're cool. Like they know
stuff.
They know loads of stuff. They know who to talk about. They can talk about football. If you don't know how to talk about football and you can't play football, you're fucked. You're fucked.
I don't think it's the same anymore, but yeah, it definitely used to be.
It used to be. That was all it was. Is like, who can kick a ball and who can talk about that ball for fucking an hour.
Yeah.
And I was always kind of creative and not really into that and ostracised because of it. And I wrote a poem about it. Let's talk about masculinity, that I'll do now because it kind of fits in with our whole conversation. So I'm going to do it now. Let's talk about masculinity. About this male inability to recognise and identify the underlying fragility when understanding what it is to be a man. From the get-go, you're swept up in this narrative, this grand scheme, this plan. An amalgamation of information derived from the etiquette of life. Don't be fucking crying. Don't be getting the notions to show emotions, except maybe anger, when you're pissed and fists to be flying, cause real men know words are for birds and birds do be lying. And we're taught these rules from the very beginning, especially in schools where the kids do be grinning to each other about anyone that doesn't seem to fit in. The types, the geeks, freaks and weirdos. Yeah, they're a bit different, but they're much easier to jeer. Though takes the heat off me, basically. And those that don't fit the guidelines are placed on the sidelines, outcast, out past the corner post of normality. And this is done with the utmost formality. Sorry, you can't play an our game. You don't even follow football. And a few years pass and it's still the same game, and this rejection sticks to your berries into your brain for the rest of your teenage life. Cuts through your confidence like a hot fucking knife, all because you didn't play along. Didn't pretend like the others to be all macho and strong, no. You liked art, music and skating, therefore you're picked on and given a few beatings because you deserve it, you little tick, you little sap, you smelly little hippie, and they hit you another. Because you're different. Because you're unique. Because you're challenging the norms and they perceive this as weak. But they're wrong. You are strong. And school doesn't last forever and life after is very long compared to that shite. When every day feels like a struggle and there's trouble or a fight for you, see. Some lads become dads and these boys become men, and they'll have kids of their own, and God forbid it happens to them. Hopefully their boys grow up to be a part of the team. That's the dream. Fitting in is real easy, or so it would seem when you keep the head down. Play by the rule book of bullshit. With any luck they'll avoid getting stuck in that cesspool of negativity, the hegemonic, demonic brotherhood of toxic masculinity. There's more to life than playing by hypothetical rules, and those who enforce these laws are just a bunch of shitebags and fools, too afraid to be themselves. Like a flock of sheep they must keep in step with their hair, but if their man has ever questioned, you can see that they're scared because they're not you. Who can be kind and be gentle and be true. What more can you do but be you?
That was Let's Talk About Masculinity by Leon Dunne. Well done, mate.
Thank you. I'm fucking sweating.
Yeah.
Roasting in here, this.
Always love listening to that poem.
Thank you. Yeah.
Covers a lot of what we're saying.
Yeah,
You know?
it's comes from the heart, you know.
Yeah, experience.
Yeah, I think when you're writing about something personal like that, kind of flows out of you, you know. It's like all poetry, really.
Ah, yeah. Listen, if it's coming from a place where it's happened.
Yeah, definitely. So
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I
Thank
think it's, you know, this conversation has been quite like wide range and it's like up and down because I think it's such a wide topic to try and pin down, isn't it? Like
yeah,
masculinity, toxic masculinity. Also, I always find it's quite hard to like talk about men because I don't know how you feel, but like what I feel is like that's a lot of people
it's a lot.
to kind of connect with. And you know, if I go into a room of like 50 people, I'd probably speak to a lot of them, but like who am I actually identifying with? Like who we're all.
Yeah,
You know, that it's not that interesting to me to think of men and women, really.
yeah, but you can't.
It's more about the kind of the influence, the mass influence that is common. But you know, we're a lot of people.
There's a lot. Like it's like you wouldn't say all women are this.
No,
But you'd same as you wouldn't, you know.
and you shouldn't. And you shouldn't. You
Or
shouldn't do.
all non-gender conformed people are this, or all men are this. You know, it's like we're not all the same, and it's very, very, very broad. So you can't put someone in a box just because of one label. Do you know, like all people with a beige jumper on are this. You know, all people that have a tattoo are this. You can't.
And it's not interesting to do that either.
It's one makeup of you. It's one element of you. It's not. It's not your entire makeup.
No, and unless you're like, there's something very specific that you're looking to kind of talk about and change. That is gender. You know. I do think that it makes you probably more of an interesting person to not think of those linear lines.
Yeah.
You just see the world a bit differently.
Well, I hope everyone's experienced. They know what masculinity is now after us explaining to them real well through the medium of poetry.
I think I'm glad you really appreciated 50 minutes of mansplaining about what it's like to be a man.
Thanks for coming to our TED Talk.
Yeah, appreciate your time.
I hope you feel better and more enlightened after this chat. We've broken down.
I don't.
I'm still the same gobshite from before we
Same
started
knobhead
recording.
as
So
before. I wanted to share a poem from Tristram Fane Saunders. So on our Patreon read along, the book, before we go any further, is our read along selected by the Winding Stair. That is available now to sign up to. It's a read along that we do. It's €3 a month, supporting the podcast. Every month we pick a book. Tristram's going to join us on the podcast next week for a little chat.
lovely.
So I thought to kind of signpost that conversation, also, you know, maybe talk about the Patreon as well. Like, you know, join us, get involved. If you like this poem that we're about to share, join us. It's
If you
great
have an
crap.
extra £3
lying
you'd like to-
about,
and you'd like to support us and help our mansplaining a bit further, you know, £3 isn't that much in this day and age. We're not going to inflate. Our prices will never change.
no, it's always 3.
You know.
This is a poem from his new collection, and it's called Lullaby. No one sleeps. Matt, living with his parents again, and 2 days sober, almost. Jackie, taking pictures of the moon that wakes above the thumb-tacked desk she rests her cheek on when she inks her picture books of pyramids or shapes her careful lines of coke. It's almost dawn as Zoe starts another chapter of the niche erotica she ghosts for 7 cents a word, awake as us. You look awake. I look like something you might like to sleep through. Richard with the man he used to lie beside, who's on a bed on wheels and never sleeps or wakes. It's not what any of us wanted. Hum it. It will do.
That was Lullaby by Tristram Fane Saunders.
Speechless, really.
Very
I mean,
good.
after reading that, I was like, yeah, We're all not quite settled, are we? We're all either all starting something or finishing something where we wanted to be and underwhelmed. We're all...
We're always changing. Things are never static and the same. There's the one certainty of life is that things will always change. There you go. You can have that for free.
Thanks for that, pal.
There you go. You can get that tattooed on your forearm now. Brilliant poem, and I think that's a great way to give people a little taste
of the Patreon. Yeah, absolutely. So Tristram's going to be with us next week. If you'd like to read along with us with his new collection, sign up to our Patreon today.
We will delve further into that collection. I'm looking forward to it.
Speaking of delving into things, we've delved back into the woods, or I think the Welsh caravan site where the agony aunt has been residing since we kind of gave her a bit of annual leave and brought in Agatha Christie last week.
But she was burnt out.
She was knackered.
She was working non-stop since January with no days off. You know,
that could be tough.
She needs a little break every now and again, a little long weekend.
But she came back refreshed.
Yeah, that Welsh wind in her veins. She was nice, and she'd a bit of a spring on her step.
Good. Well, she needed it because this is the problem that she had to face on return. Our agony aunt problem for this week. I am in love with somebody who's married, and they're also in love with me. Said as much. The connection between us is huge, like soulmates, really. But he still chose to stay with his wife, even though he's not really working on his marriage. So I guess the theme would be heartbreak.
Well, there's
a lot going on there.
That's a serious problem that needs to be solved with the agony aunt.
Seemingly so.
Luckily she had her time off to get into this. So I asked her for the poem. So she wasn't in the frozen food aisle in Tesco. She was just after coming off her Welsh holiday, feeling refreshed, and she goes, "You know what? I have a poem for you. It's called The Mirror. Gold framed edges, handcrafted yet worn. Few chips on the corners, but it's still holding on strong. I gaze at the reflection, and a version of myself gazes back. Same freckles on the shoulders, same smile, same nose. Yet there's a difference in the eyes, a lightness, I suppose. It's the hand that it's holding, the hand of another, a soulmate or kindred spirit, someone I wish to be more than a lover. We're still the same age, my reflection and I, but she looks a bit younger, and I think I know why. It's the security of that hand that's keeping her strong. Yet my own hand lies empty, but I know whose it belongs with. And yet he chooses another, went the old security route, and he doubts his own feelings, doubts his own emotional truths. So I reflect on reflections and gaze through that glass. As the mirror has cracked, I think back on the past, and I hope that things change and he opens his eyes. Or maybe he'll continue to chase shadows and believe his own lies.
That was The Mirror by the Agony Aunt.
She can do serious problems as well.
I don't think we even need to say anything.
No, I think she did it.
I think she succinctly summarised everything that needs to be reviewed.
Yeah, I think so. She thinks she should go on holiday more often.
Well, I hope all three of you find your way out of what's going on.
Yeah,
because there's three of you.
It's a sticky situation to be involved in. You know?
Keep us posted.
Keep us posted.
We don't know who you are.
No,
but
it's completely anonymous.
Keep us posted.
Completely anonymous, but
we'll wrap up the show with a lovely track this week by Lisa Knapp. This track is called Train Song. recommended to us by Andy Porter, who we're going to meet actually when this goes out. We already have hung out with Andy in Liverpool,
and he's over with him.
Yeah, and he's already got he's got his new collection coming out. Neighbour's got a brand new hot tub that we've shared that poem on the show before.
Oh, yeah.
That is the title of his new collection that comes out in July. So yeah, we'll be talking about that later on down the line.
Oh, we will.
Looking forward to getting my hands on that. For now, enjoy this. This is Lisa Knapp with Train Song. Leon, thanks for your time.
Always a pleasure, never to chaw, Ryan, baby.
What do toxic masculine people do when they want to say goodbye?
Listen to Lisa Knapp.
I don't think they do. Yeah, what?
Yeah, what?
And what?
You little prick.
Yeah, thanks for listening. And what?
See you down the pub. Yeah, what's it?
Yeah, thanks for listening. You're taking the piss.
You won't, champ.
Crow's flit, Scots pine, floodplain, sunshine, bare soil, beige scrub, green fields, brown mud, church clock, homestead, pasture, seed head, graveyard, old stone, wire fence, tree alone, power lines, metal tracks, grinding wheels, chimney stacks, looming grey, winter scene, bending day, riverine, distant hills, poplars tall, hinterland, caravans, village hall, grazing sheep, shelter belt, evergreens, tough grass, ploughed fields, hedgerow, silo, black earth, straight road, canal, houseboat, branches bare, tangled air, bird of prey, dormant clay, substation, stately home, sewage works, solar farm, viaduct, valleys deep, cable stretch, city reach. Car parks, concrete, skybound, full beam, billboard, pavement, bus stop, railings, red brick, archways, tower, black slate, dot matrix, masonry, double glaze, density, reflections, passageways, buglier, pigeon grey, satellite, habitat, mobile mast, office space, aerial, classical, iron bridge, arch and crane, skyscraper, cathedral, coffee house, commercial, graffiti, scaffolding, silver birch, litter bin, riveted, suspension, composite, extension, Romanesque, metallic, modernist, electric, people walk, people wait, balustrade, new estate, people run, people talk, common gull, foxes